There's a new optimization trick, tip, hack, whatever you want to call it, but it's going around at the moment and I think you're going to like it, but it is a little bit controversial. So let me show you what it is and why a lack of understanding is putting some business owners off using it. But my goodness, when you use it, I've seen businesses take off and get incredible ranking very, very quickly. So in today's video, I'm going to show you what that simple optimization trick is, how using it improves your ranking, how to easily discover plenty more of them to improve ranking, why you shouldn't feel bad using it, and a tool that's going to make it 100 times easier and faster to do. So let's do this. So what is this easy trick that's going to explode your rankings? Well, I shared this a few months ago with my community and my members were very split on whether they wanted to use it or not. There were mixed feelings, and so in effect I explained to them it's a bit like racing. So if you're into Formula 1 or if you're into NASCAR or IndyCar, you'll know the rules of racing. But more on that in a moment. Once they understood it, they went ballistic for it because they saw its potential. And it's all down to cleaning up the competition. It may feel unpopular, but you do need to make sure you know what your competition's doing, and then you do some spring cleaning. So that means reporting those that are not playing by the rules. Because in effect, a false profile takes up space. And if they're taking up space above you, you're missing out on rankings, and you're missing out then on sales and clients and customers. Ultimately, you need to report anyone that's not playing by the rules. But don't worry, it's a lot easier than you think to spot these. And there are 3 types of listings that you can report. The first one, you can report to Google a fake or non-existent business. So this is if it doesn't exist or it just doesn't deserve to be there. The second one is spammy names. So Google's aware that there's very few pizza places called Best Pizza near me. That's just using keywords to get rankings. So Google's aware of that. So again, those types of spammy keyword named businesses need to be reported. And the third is if it's an inactive listing. So if it's an old listing, it's not been active for several months, that can also be removed. I have a tool that will do all that for you, so you don't even need to really spot them. But before I come to that, let's go back to that thought of the Formula 1, IndyCar, NASCAR. How's that related? Well, if ever you've watched motor racing, you'll know that when someone finishes first, they still, even though they cross the line first, need to abide by the rules. If they're disqualified, then everyone behind them goes up a place. So let's imagine you finish 7th in a race, but the 6 ahead of you have all not been playing by the rules. You've actually then won the race. And that's the type of mentality you need here. So each false listing you remove could be another position gained in all your rankings. And if you're wondering if it's okay with Google, absolutely. In fact, they expect you to do something about it. Google encourages it. They've even built tools to help you to do this. So how do you easily discover these then? Well, at first you may need to be a little bit of a detective because it may not come natural to spot them straight away. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So obviously the real spammy ones are obvious and you'll see them straight away. But it's the subtle ones that are a lot harder to deal with. And you'll be surprised how much easier it is when you have a little bit of practice. So there are 4 indicators that show whether a business listing is likely to be spammy and needs to be removed and isn't playing by the rules. So what are those 4? The first one is it has no reviews. That should ring alarm bells because legitimate businesses usually have at least a handful of reviews. The second thing is the business name itself. So we mentioned this earlier, but you need to scan each business name of the competitors above you. And as mentioned, if you've got weird names, keyword stuffing names, titles that have got keywords in, they're all giveaways. But also, real businesses don't call themselves plumber near you open 24/7. Now, here's another tip. If you're not sure, because some businesses are now calling themselves these unusual names to get around this, but if you're not sure, there's a few things you can do. Go to their website and see what the logo says, see what their tagline says, see what they call themselves throughout the website. And look at the copyright at the bottom of the website and see what that gives the limited business name or the type of business name, see what its legitimate name is. Look it up on the government registration for the business as well and you'll see the business name there. In just a few seconds you should be able to form a complete understanding of what the true business name is. And if it's different to what they've registered it on Google, then they've broken the rules, and therefore Google expects you to report them. Another indication of a false identity for a business is if it's got the same photos. So if you see the same logo, the same photos across several, what businesses have done is they've reproduced the same profile, just given it a slightly different address or a different business name. And again, Google sometimes gets this and spots it, but actually if you notice it, then report it too. And the fourth area is just look at the address as well. If the address is identical, but just it says Unit 3 instead of Unit 4, or if the telephone number is identical, these again will give you ideas that it's a duplicated business and therefore it's not a true business. And add to that, if there's no website address, if there's no real clear address, no real telephone number, those are all again alarm bells that could possibly ring. But I think you get the idea of what you're looking for. And over time it will become second nature. You just then flag these with Google, you explain what you're reporting. And the nice thing is actually it's not you removing them. Google does this. All you're doing is giving Google the heads up. You're, in effect, if you're an F1 driver, you'd be saying to the governing body, just to make you aware, but this person cut a corner, and then it's for them to investigate and make a decision. But I know most of you feel bad, as I do, doing these things. It doesn't feel right. So should you feel bad? Let's be clear, reporting false listings isn't shady. Google wants you to do this and expects you to do so as a responsible business owner. They know that fake listings really hurt the results, and they expect legitimate businesses to keep the competition clean. So whether it's F1, NASCAR, IndyCar, or whether it's ranking or racing, everyone's expected to play by the rules. But one of the big questions I get asked is, well, will the competition know if I do this? If I log in and it's using my Gmail account, will then the competitor know that it was me who reported them? Well, understandably, Google keeps you anonymous because it's not about the person who reports, it's about whether Google decides to then act on that report. So all the reporting is kept private. That isn't going to be an issue. So not only is it encouraged by Google, but they give you tools to do so. So what tools do they give? Well, you can flag something if you see a flag, or if you see it where it says suggest edit, you click on suggest edit. So in this case, suggest edit, and then if you know the business name is wrong, you can put the correct business name, or if you're aware of the address as well, or other details, you can make the suggestions there. Another thing is you may want to then close a business or suggest it's being duplicated. If that's the case, then under suggest edit, you can then make that choice to close or to remove it. And finally, also there's a redressal complaint form. Now this is where you want to perhaps go into a bit more detail. So the redressal complaint form, this form is available in Google Business Profile Support documentation, and I'll put a link down below in the description, and it allows you to submit more detailed reports, especially if the false listing is causing direct harm to your business rankings. So this isn't about being cutthroat, it's about just clearing out the false competition. And of course, when you clear out false competition, it does that not only for your business, but for all the other legitimate businesses. So you're still competing and ranking against them. So I've got something that's going to help you to then compete against them, which I'll share with you in a moment. But before then, I mentioned there was a tool that's going to make it 100 times faster. And I use this all the time, a brilliant tool from Local Falcon. So what I do is I go there, I then do a search, and I then see what the competition is. And rather than me having to scan and use all the information in this video, this tool just does it for you. It knows what it's looking for, and it's been programmed to make these clear, to stand out. It even gives you a link to the redressal form if you want to click on that. But these tools just make it a lot more effortless, and they're really useful. So again, I'll put a link to Local Falcon below. But it basically scans the area, looks for the competition, looks for anything that's keyword stuffed or fake titles. So right now, reporting false listings are becoming incredibly popular among savvy business owners because it's just so easy to spot and it's being done so often. So let me know in the comments below how you get on at trying to spot them, whether you use it manually or whether you use a tool like Local Falcon. But as I mentioned earlier, as you get rid of these other fake listings, you're still in competition against all the other businesses that are legitimate with you. So how can you now get ahead of them? Well, I put together 25 more tips that are going to help you rank even higher this year. So head over to this video. You don't want to miss those tips. And with the combination of those tips, you should be ranking very high very quickly. I'll see you there.